There was a time when I was considered too negative. Oh, hacker, I can't follow you on social media. You're too negative. And I said, okay. You call it negative, I call it realistic. I call it reality, my friend. But I've never been confused for a guy that's too Jaguar positive. And we have a few of those in this market, most of which are my friends, colleagues in the media. Of course, I hold no ill will towards any other media member. We're all under the same umbrella. We're all friends in peace and harmony. But some of my colleagues are of the sunshine and rainbows variety. Let's roast marshmallows and play the harmonica and sing Kumbaya when it comes to the Jaguars. I have never been that, nor will I ever be that. Again, been told I'm too negative, never been told I'm too positive. Having said that, I have never been more wrong about a Jaguar football team coming into the year. And I mean that. I've done this. I started as an intern on 930 with Dempsey in 2002. So we're talking 22. Yeah, this is probably my 23rd season on sports radio in some capacity as an intern, a producer, or a host, talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I was thinking back today, honestly, I don't think I've ever been more wrong. I had this team 8, 9, maybe even 10 wins. I think on the 1010XL YouTube series we did, I think I had the Jaguars at 9-8 for the third straight year. Means they'd have to go 9-4 in their last 13 just to get there, which I'm not sure is going to happen. But when I was out at training camp, look, Trevor just got his new deal. Hines Allen's coming off 17.5 sacks. Trayvon Walker's coming off double-digit sacks. They get Christian Kirk back. They bring in, Eric Armstead and Darnell Savage. They get Gabe Davis with 28 career touchdown catches. They bring in a veteran in Mitch Morse. A lot of excitement about Brian Thomas Jr., which that's the one that there is still a lot of excitement about him. I guess it was easy to get caught up in it. It was easy to get caught up in the moment. I try to never let that happen. I always tell you guys, preseason to me means absolutely nothing because I've been burned on the preseason too many times. I put very little to no stock in the preseason. But even so, remember the Jaguars won all 3 preseason games and won all 3 of them fairly convincingly, if memory serves. I don't know if anybody saw 0-4. It's easy now to say, I told you they weren't going to be very good. No one that I knew, no one that I talked to said 0-4 out of the gate. Said, yep, they're going to be the last team without a win in the NFL. That's nonsense. We all knew the schedule was tough at the beginning of the year, but I'm not sure if anybody saw this. So the question is, well, the reality is the Jaguars are the last winless team in the NFL. They're 0-4. There's nothing you can do about that except gripe and complain and moan about it. That probably won't do you very much good. Now, what do they do moving forward? And there's 2 trains of thought for me. Number 1, there's the train of thought where, all right, they're going to roll over and die. Coach is on the hot seat talk. General manager is on the hot seat talk. Reports coming out. Even there was one today, earlier this evening, that the locker room is going to rebel, which, again, I don't believe. I'm in that locker room quite a bit. I don't believe it's, as that report made it out to be by Jordan Schultz. We will talk about it, but I don't believe it necessarily. That's one line of thinking. The other, and the one I'm more prone to look at, again, trying not to be so negative. All right, you have an Indianapolis team coming in here on Sunday that hasn't won a game in Duval County since 2014. You're inducting Tom Coughlin into the pride of the Jaguars. You're wearing the throwback unis. You're at home for only the second time this year. Is it far-fetched to believe the Jaguars are going to win the game? Of course not. They're the favorites. It's not far-fetched at all. So hypothetically, let's say you do get it done. You're 1-4. Then you go to London. Chicago's 2-2, but they haven't been very good. Caleb Williams has never played in London. New England's awful, even though they won on opening day. They've looked awful ever since. You get them in London. Are the Jaguars going to be 3-4? I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just pointing out to you that it's not far-fetched. It doesn't take a great leap of faith to say, all right, 0-4 sucks. We're the last winless team in the NFL. But now you're finally not playing teams that made the playoffs last year. You're into one of the easier parts of the schedule. If the schedule is valleys and mountains, well, you just were on a mountain, right, with 4 straight playoff teams from a year ago. Now you're coming down that mountain clearly in a valley with a home game against the Colts and London games against Chicago and New England. And if, again, gigantic if, but if the Jaguars do get to 3-4, well, at that point, it's a brand new season. At that point, it's a brand new ball game. At that point, you are right in the mix for a wild card at 3-4. Will that happen? I probably wouldn't bet on it. I'm just simply pointing out to you that it's not far-fetched to believe that it could happen. Obviously, the Jaguars have to play better. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence has to play better. They need to get healthier. There's a lot of things that need to transpire to go from 0-4 to 3-4. And it obviously is one at a time beginning this Sunday with Indianapolis. But the NFL, man, the law of averages to me will tell you at some point you're not going to experience heartbreak every week like the Jaguars seemingly have. At some point, the ball will bounce in your direction. At some point, you will get a critical call from an official. And I believe the law of averages might come into effect on Sunday here against Indianapolis. You're playing an Indianapolis team with a struggling quarterback, a banged-up Indianapolis team. You're inducting Coughlin into the Pride. You're fired up about the throwback unis. If you don't win this game, dude, I'm not sure what to tell you there. You get to 0-5, there is no more optimism. There's not much at 0-4 other than does not take a giant leap to think you could win at home against Indy and win the London games against Chicago and New England. Denmark, I'm normally not a teal Kool-Aid guy. I'm not a teal and black blinders Jaguar homerism guy. But you and I talked earlier. You're kind of along the same line of thinking. It isn't far-fetched to believe that they could win each of the next 3 games.
No, you always hear the terms, you are what your record is, and I kind of never really believe in that. There's a lot of teams that are worse than Jacksonville, but you wouldn't be able to tell by our record. I know you can sit here all the time and we talk about the games. I mean, Jacksonville's literally 3 plays away from being 3-1. And, things can be a lot better, yes, but Indy's banged up. Indy didn't. Yes, they did, beat the Steelers, which was, a good win for them. But I'm confident, man. I don't know why. I think Brian Thomas Jr. can get to the Colts secondary, and I think they can get a roll like they did last year. Remember last year, they didn't start the season like they wanted to. They went to London, and they went back-to-back games, and they kind of went on a roll. I don't think they're going to get on a roll, but 3-4 is not too far-fetched. It's the NFL. It's any given Sunday, and the game, the league is not made to where you should win and lose, 4 and 5 consecutive weeks.
Well, 3-4 would be phenomenal right now. I think your hardest game, honestly, on paper, is probably this Sunday. The Colts, to me, are better than Chicago. They beat them. The Colts, to me, are clearly better than the Patriots. My thing about the law of averages does apply to Jacksonville. It also applies to Indy. At some point, Indianapolis is going to come in here and win a football game. September of 2014, man, is the last time the Colts won a game here. Now, one of those games was in London, but every other game was here. There was a 6-0 Jaguars win there. Remember 2020 opening day? The only Jaguar win that season came against Phillip Rivers and Indy. 2021, all Indy had to do was win the final game of the year, and Trevor Lawrence beat them to knock them out of the playoffs. I wish Indy would have won a game or two here in the last decade, because I can tell you, talking to some folks in Indianapolis this week, that's a lot of what they're talking about. That's basically all of what they're talking about, this streak in Jacksonville and needing to come to an end. That is a talking point in the Colts locker room. And we'll see.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.